Labor is useless. Making bread, building a house, teaching, growing tomatoes, driving a bus, treating animal diseases, selling tickets in a movie theater, writing a poem, installing electronic components. At first sight, these activities seem to respond to a specific function, meet the needs of a society by ensuring an income for the person employed. And yet, we can say that these activities are useless. More precisely, we can say that at the time of the reign of market society, these activities become something else than their primary function. This other thing does more than just be added as a second nature, it becomes the nature itself of the activity. At this moment, activity transforms itself into labor and acquires general status in the capitalist production of value. Capitalism is precisely this non-society which employs peoples at tasks whose true purpose is something other than what appears at first sight. Clearly, labor only exists for value production. Value is an abstract category, a fetish made by men, but is conducting its own existence, independent, without anyone having control on its logic and its development. Human activities do not always exist as labor. The interaction of man with nature and among men has not always as a pretext to transform money in more money. It is relatively new. In pre-capitalist societies, activities could serve fetish category, religious or absurd, but it was never the model for all activities. And never had regrouped under one and only name all men activities.
Quelle est la nature du travail dans une société? Quels problèmes pose-t-il? Et pour le Moyen-Âge, on se heurte d'abord à un problème formidable pour l'historien. Que peut représenter un mot, une activité pour lequel l'époque passée n'avait pas de mot ni de concept? Travail, ça n'existe pas.
Labor has a dual nature, as Karl Marx says. It is both concrete and abstract. And it is double in the same moment, in the same temporality. It is concrete because it always produces something concrete from concrete, and is abstract in the same time because it represents labor in general, a simple expense of energy and measurable duration on scale abstract time, clock time, which we are all subject. The abstract aspect of the work creates no good or service but foremost create a social form called the value. The value is human labor crystallized as commodity. This category allows measure and therefore to establish the exchange goods, and it is through there it becomes social form. The value is not natural, but is a purely social way to consider products. Labor duality is reflected in commodity, the use value on one hand and value or exchange value on the other hand, representing respectively concrete and abstract side. It appears that the activity under capitalism is more complex than what it seems. It seems to have a specific form that seems to distract what it claims to be premium on board. This dual nature of commodity and labor that produces it, does not coexist peacefully but has a violent contradiction. Abstract labor is not the sum of concrete works, it is not a mental abstraction. A bomb or a toy may have very different use values, but as a value, they are equal if same time was needed to manufacture objects in question and their components. When the value dominates production, that is to say when the product usually and massively take the social form of commodities, the production is no longer based on the satisfaction of existing needs. Now the only purpose of the production becomes the value. The goal is to obtain the greatest amount possible of value and therefore money. And this has dramatic consequences because, if the capitalist system of production needs more bombs than toys to create value, he will do it, and it is not a moral issue because of supposedly wicked capitalist, but the result of the absurd logic of the system. That is to say, a logic which exceeds control of actors. Here we should rather say spectator, as Debord did. Labor is therefore not an anthropological constant we can hear often. But then we are dealing with an anthropological mutation, a new social construct which determines more than ever all individual lives in a full scale. In capitalism, abstract labor became the social link, the aim of the society and not the means for other purpose. As the commodity must not be confused with goods, similarly, work should no longer be confused with human activity. We can all feel in our fleshes and in our heads the alienation and violence that represents labor. That said, our indignation is often at a particular stage. And we sometimes tend to wear ourselves responsibility for our unhappiness. Awareness of the historical particularity of the category of labor, understanding that this is an invention of market society, allow to transform this indignation into opportunity to act and transform our relationship to the world. Clearly, to reclaim our lives.